So in the last video, we did the centralized error handling as well as the request and response modification. That means we are not using the request and response in the instance. Okay, so that means I am simply returning the final output. Okay, that means this request and this response. Okay, we are not using it anymore in our controller, right? This logic we have moved to our central initialize controller logic, right? So let us enhance our framework and even remove the dependency of request and response here in the parameters. Okay, so response we are not using. Now request we are using. We might need it to get the request.params or request.query or request.body or request.headers, right? So these are the few use case where we need the request object. Now what we will do, we will not use the request object itself. We are going to use the decorator pattern. Okay, so I want to introduce few more decorators with help of which we can read the params, the query and the body, right? So this is what I want to achieve. So okay, I'm taking this example because this has a param, URL param, right? So if you see the postman, see this /1 is the param, right? So how we are reading it? We are reading it from request.params, right? Instead, what I want to do is to create a decorator and I want to call it param. Okay, and here I will pass this ID. Okay, that means it will parse this ID. Okay, and it will give me a variable of type number, right? Or it could be of type string, depends on the use case, right? So for now, let it be number. Why number? Because I have to use it as an array index, right? As per current implementation. Okay, so this is what I want, and maybe instead of ID, maybe we can keep it as book ID. Right now, why I'm not keeping book ID? Because it will give this duplicate identifier conflict. Okay, so for now, I can keep it ID. What I want to emphasize is this name and this name need not be same. However, this name and this name has to be same, right? Okay, now how can I write a param decorator that will give me the parameter value that is being passed here, right? And it could be anything, right? Number, string, boolean, anything. So this is my target. Okay, so let us see how we can do this. So I will come to my core and decorators, and I will add one more decorator here, and I can name it as http handlers.decorators.ts, right? And I will say export function params. Okay, and what this will return? This will return a parameter decorator. Okay, we have seen class decorator, we have seen method decorator. Now what we are writing here is a parameter decorator, right? Okay, now what value it will take? It will take this key value, right? So I can say key of type string. This will always be string, right? And what will be the signature of this function? This will take the target, okay, property key and parameter index. Okay, so these are the three parameters, okay, that a parameter decorator takes. Okay, so target is the class, right? So this is the decorator. This decorator is used on this book controller class. So this target will be the book controller. Okay, the method is this one, get book by ID, which is the property key. Okay, and it will take the parameter index. So it will start from 0. So say for example here I have another parameter name of type string, say for example. Okay, so here what will be the index? Index will be 1. So it is 0 index and this is the first index, right? This we are not going to use, but for now I'll just keep it for example purpose. Okay, so we have the parameter index. So if I do a console.log and if I say target.constructor, then property key, then parameter index. Okay, and what I will do here, I will come, I will do a quick fix, and if you see here I'm not getting option to import. Okay, why is that? Because here I have used params. Okay, it should be param, and here I will say import, and here what I can do for now, let me temporarily comment it out and hard code it to 1, just so that our application works. Okay, it doesn't throw any error, right? So now server is running, so we'll come to postman and we'll send a request. Okay, now if you see, okay, so if you see here, this is the log, right? So this is the target, okay, and this is the parameter key, and this is the index. Okay, why we are getting 1? Because if you see, we are passing it in the first parameter index, right? So this is the 0th and this is the first parameter, right? Now to add this decorator, okay, what information I need? Okay, so I need this data type. Okay, that is the thing that I need. I need this key, right? And what else I need? I need the index, right? So these are the 3 things that I need. Okay, so I will create a type, okay, export type http handler, and it will take index, okay, as number, okay, key as string, and type as string. Okay, so index, okay, key is this key, okay, which is the id or whatever variable we are using here, that one, right? And the type, what is the type? The number. Okay, now if you see, we have the index and we have the key, right? But we don't know the type. Okay, so how to get the type? Again, reflection comes into our rescue. Okay, so I'll say con param type equals to, okay, reflect dot get metadata. Okay, and what metadata? There is a very specific metadata called design param types. Okay, and it will take target and property key, right? So for this target, for the given target, and for the property key, okay, what are the parameter types that we have? Okay, so if I do a console log, okay, we will see its value. Okay, so if I show this one, see what I am getting. I'm getting one function string and one function number, right? Now what are these? So if you see the function, okay, it has 2 parameters. Okay, one is of type string, one is of type number, right? This is what is being displayed here, right? So function string and function number, right, which is equivalent to string and number, right? Now from here, how can I find the required data type? Okay, so the required data type is in which index? So 0th index and first index. Now do we have the index? So if you see here, we do have the index, right? So for now, okay, let me remove this because this will create confusion. Okay, and if I say parameter index, okay, and if I log, if you see here, what we are getting? We are getting function number, right? Now I can say dot name, right? So now what I'll get? I'll get number, right? And say for example, if I change this to string, okay, I'll save and I will open. So now what I'll get? I'll get string, right? So essentially what I'm doing, I'm getting the parameter type. Okay, great. So now what I'll do? Okay, now can I add this information simply in the metadata? So there might be a possibility that there are multiple params, and later on we are going to introduce query strings also, right? So before adding anything to the reflection, what I have to do, I have to read if anything is already there in the reflection and then append to that, right? This is the pattern that we have been following. Okay, so what I will do, I will say const existing param equals to reflect dot get metadata, and I'm going to name it as params, okay, on target dot constructor and property key, right? Or it will be an empty array. Okay, and this existing param will be of type http handler array, right? Then existing params dot push, okay, what we have to push? Index is nothing but the parameter index, right? Key is nothing but the key that we are getting from the parameter, okay, this key. And what will be the type will be param type, okay, of parameter index, okay, dot name, right? We have seen this in the console log. Then reflect dot define metadata, and what value we will push? We will push the params, okay, this name has to be same. Okay, what value we will push? We will push the existing params value on target dot constructor and property key, right? Perfect. So what we have essentially done, we have added some information on our reflection. Okay, perfect. So now let us check the console. We don't have any errors, right? So we will come to our app, okay, and here inside this try block, okay, let me read that information. Okay, so I will say const params equals to reflect dot get metadata, okay, and we'll get the param, and this will be coming from instance dot constructor, and what will be the property key? So if you see here, this key value pair is based on this constructor and this property key, right? So I have to pass both. So what will be the property key here? Route dot handler, right? So this will be the handler, the property key, right? So if I now do console.log of params, okay, and if I do a console log, okay, and I send a request, okay, and if I come here, you see we have index 1, okay, id is the key and type is the string, right? So this is one of our parameters, right? Now say for example, okay, if I add one more parameter here on the update book, right? So I will do the same thing. So here I will take this, okay, and I will comment out, and for now I'll just say const book id equals to 1. Okay, this is just to fix the error. Okay, this is not the final code. So if I now send a request, okay, and if we come to our console, okay, this is one value that we are getting, okay, and if I come to the update, okay, here also we will get something. So if you see here, the parameter index is 0, id is the key, and type is the string. Okay, now one more example I can show you. Okay, so add param, okay, and we can call it some value, say for example age, okay, and I can say age of type number, right? Now what I have to do, I have to take the age also, just a random example. Okay, so now I'll come to postman, okay, and here I will say 14. Okay, now if I send a request, what will happen? You see here on index 1, okay, we have key as id, type of string, okay, and on index 2 we have key of age and type of number, right? So this is what we want to do, right? Now what we can do with this information, we can come here, okay, I will remove this console and I will create a variable and I'll call it as args of type any array, and it will be empty initially. Okay, now this args, okay, I will pass to our handler function. Okay, so dot args, right? These are the arguments that I'll be sending instead of the request and response. Now what will be the content of this argument? Okay, so to add the content, what I will do, I will say params dot for each, okay, I will say param, and it will take a function. And what will be the type of this param? This param will be of type http handler, right? And this param also is of type http handler array, right? So I will come here and I will say args and which index. Okay, so we'll say param dot index equals to what will be the value? The value we can get from request dot param and param dot key, right? So param dot key has the id or the age, right? The index defines on which index we are passing that value, right? That means this arg, okay, in its, say for example, first index, okay, what value we are adding? We are adding request dot params dot param key. That means the id request.params.id is added into the first index, right? Similarly, on the second index, the age will be added, right? And we will pass that as the arg, right? Now, if I come here, okay, and if I do console.log of id and age, okay, let us see what value we will get. Okay, so let us check our console. There are no errors, right? I will come here, get book by id, 1 and 14 are the age and the id and the age, right? So I'll send a request, I'll come to terminal, and if you see I'm getting 1 and 14, right? Perfect. So this is what I wanted. I'm able to inject, okay, the param and the age from my controller initialization controller function, right? Okay, now we will see one more thing. Okay, this age is of type number, right? So if I do type of age, okay, what will be the type of this age? Okay, let us see. So I'll send a request, and if you see, this is coming as string. Even though I'm saying, okay, that it should be of type number, it is still a string, right? Why? Because we have this param dot type, but we are not using it anywhere, right? Now that it's time to use this. Okay, so we'll come to our utils, we'll come to helpers, and we will add a function. Okay, so I will copy paste the function. So but this is transform value. It will take a value of type any and it will take the type that we want to convert it to. Okay, so for example, it will take the value say 14 and it will pass another parameter called number, right? And we are doing in switch case, and based on that we are doing some transformation. Okay, if it is supposed to convert to string, we are using the string function, and then if it is a number, we are converting it to number and doing some validation. If it is expecting boolean, right, we are doing the boolean validation or boolean typecast, right? Little bit of explicit function definition. So now what I can do here, okay, const raw value equals to this, right? And what value I will assign here? I will assign transform value, okay, raw value and param dot type, right? So whatever type we am passing, it will be converted into that particular type, right? Okay, so we'll go to our console. We'll see there are no errors, right? I'll come to Postman. I will send another request, okay, and I'll come to console. And now if I see type of age, that is 14, is number, right? Perfect. So this will do the transformation based on this information, right? Okay, so now let us do some cleanup. Okay, so book controller, I don't need this name, right? And this age also I don't need. Okay, and this also I can do cleanup, and this also I can remove, this also I can remove, and here I can change it to book ID or whatever name you want, right? Again, I want to emphasize this name and this name need not be same, but this key and this key has to be same, right? So I'll pass book ID, right? And I will copy this line, okay, and I will add it here, right? And I will remove this constant and I will remove this constant, and this book ID is supposed to be of type number, okay, and I will change this to number as well, right? Why number? Because we are dealing with array index here. This book ID is supposed to be the array index, right? So now I will come to Postman and I will send another request, okay. And why I'm getting 404? So I have to remove this param also, right? Now I'm getting all the value, okay. So now if I send 4, okay, I will get that value, and here if I send 30, okay, I'm getting the validation. So that means I'm able to read the param value, right? This is what I wanted. Perfect. Now what else is pending? The query is pending, right? The query string. What do I mean by query string? So we'll take this example, okay, and here we'll say page equals to 10 and filter equals to true. Just examples, okay. Now my target is I should be able to read this information as well, but these are query strings, okay. These are params, right? These are query strings, right? So we have done it for param, we can do it for query string also, okay. So what I will do, I will copy this function because this is going to be the ditto same functionality except for, okay, I will say query, okay, and here I will also say queries, and here also I can say queries, okay. And I'll come to book controller, and here, okay, I can say add query, and what value we have given? We have given page and filter, right? So I will say page, and I can say page number of type string, and I can say add query of filter, okay, and it should be like should filter, and it should be of type boolean, right? Now when I do console.log of page number, type of page number, okay, and should filter and type of should filter, right? So I should be able to get proper values for this, okay. Later on, based on our use case, we can use this, right? As long as I'm able to do console log, the purpose of this video is served, right? Now the same thing we will here, okay. I'll copy this, okay, and params. So I'll say these are queries, okay, and this will be this queries that we are taking. So we'll take this queries, okay, and queries dot for each, okay, params dot query and the param key, and I'll add it to that particular index, right? And it is the same args, right? So we don't have to do anything, right? Now let us check the console. No errors. I will come to this get all books and I will send a request, and it broke, something went wrong, okay. And why we are getting this message? Okay, see here, what I'm doing queries dot for each. Right now it is expecting for each route, okay, we should have some query methods, right? But if you see, for this example we don't have any query methods, right? For this we don't have any param methods, right? So this should always be optional. Okay, so if I don't have any queries, it should not run, right? Or it should run based on condition, right? Or what you can do, you can say or, okay, an empty array, right? This is also, if you want, you can handle or empty array, right? Okay, now if I come and run this one, okay, see, I'm getting the value, and when I'm checking the console values, see, I'm getting 10 as string and true as boolean, right? So this is what I wanted, so it is coming from this console log, right? So I'm able to get the query values as well as I'm able to get the param values, right? Now one task I leave up to you. You have to write a similar decorator that we can use to get the header value, right? It will be very simple. Okay, all you have to use is a headers, okay, and you have to use query request dot headers. Okay, now in the next video, what we can do, we can start with body, right? Now what do I mean by body? So if you see here, create book, right? This is not taking a single param or query, right? This is taking a whole body, right? So in the next video we will see how to extract this body, and I'll introduce you to the concept of DTO, that is data transfer object. So if you find this video interesting, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.